There is a creature in your yard tonight steering itself by the Milky Way, and it is doing it while pushing a ball of manure in a perfectly straight line. You have probably seen a dung beetle at some point in your life, maybe rolling a small dark ball across a dirt path. Maybe just a name you half remember from a nature documentary, filed away as one of the stranger, less glamorous corners of the insect world. Most people's understanding of the dung beetle stops at the obvious joke. It collects animal waste and rolls it into a ball. That is true, but it is such a small fragment of what is actually happening that it barely scratches the surface. Underneath that simple, slightly comic behavior is one of the most precise navigation systems ever documented in any animal on Earth, an underground economy built on stolen and defended resources, and an insect so mechanically powerful relative to its own size that it makes almost every other animal on the planet look weak by comparison. Welcome back to Among Backyard Wilds. If you are new here, subscribe, because what you are about to learn will change the way you look at every small beetle you have ever dismissed without a second glance. Today we are exploring the extraordinary, overlooked world of the dung beetle, how it navigates by starlight, how it builds and defends an underground vault, and how a single missing piece of this insect's ecosystem role once caused a genuine environmental crisis across an entire continent. Stay until the end, because the last thing we cover is a true story involving Australia. Millions of cattle and a solution nobody expected. Imported dung beetles brought in deliberately to save an entire agricultural landscape. Chapter 1. The only known animal that steers by the galaxy itself. To understand what makes the dung beetles so remarkable, start with the single most astonishing fact researchers have ever documented about it. One that took years of careful experimentation to confirm because it seemed, at first, almost too strange to be true. Certain species of dung beetle, after forming a ball of dung at a shared resource, do not simply push it in a random direction back to safety. They climb briefly on top of the ball, perform what researchers call an orientation dance, a short pause where the beetle appears to survey the sky, and then push the ball away in a straight line, moving as quickly and directly as possible to escape rival beetles who would otherwise steal the ball before it can be buried. Researchers at Lund University in Sweden set out to understand exactly how the beetles maintained that straight line, and the answer they found was extraordinary. Dung beetles use the Milky Way itself as a compass. In carefully controlled experiments conducted inside a planetarium where researchers could project a full, detailed night sky or strip it down to nothing but a diffuse band of light representing the galaxy, beetles were able to maintain a straight path using only the faint stripe of the Milky Way, even with no individual stars visible at all. When researchers fitted beetles with tiny cardboard caps blocking their view of the sky entirely, the beetles lost the ability to walk in a straight line, wandering in circles instead. No other animal on Earth has been confirmed to navigate using the diffuse light of the galaxy itself, rather than individual stars or the moon, making the dung beetle, improbably, the only creature known to use the Milky Way as a compass, and it is doing so while rolling a ball of manure across the ground beneath your feet. Chapter 2. The underground vault and the economy built to defend it. Once a dung beetle has successfully rolled its prize away from the source and away from rivals, the next phase of its life is almost entirely hidden underground, and it reveals a level of planning that most people never associate with an insect. Many dung beetle species dig a vertical tunnel directly beneath or near the dung source and drag the collected material down into a dedicated underground chamber, sometimes called a brood ball or a dung cache, where it will be shaped, in some species, into a series of individual chambers, each one packed with dung and used as a nursery. A single egg laid inside each carefully sealed pocket, providing a self-contained food supply for the larva that will hatch and develop entirely underground, never once encountering the surface world its parent navigated by starlight to build. Some species take considerably more care than others, actively patrolling the tunnel entrance to prevent rival beetles or parasitic flies from infiltrating the brood chamber. And in certain species, researchers have documented genuine parental cooperation, both the male and female beetle working together to excavate, provision, and guard the underground chamber for an extended period, a level of sustained parental investment rarely found in insects of this size. The competition for dung itself, meanwhile, can be intense enough to be described honestly as an underground economy with real theft built into it. Certain dung beetle species have abandoned the labor of finding and rolling dung altogether, instead specializing in a strategy researchers call kleptoparasitism, essentially waiting near an active tunnel entrance and stealing a rival beetle's already collected ball the moment it is left briefly unguarded, or in some documented cases, physically taking over a completed brood chamber outright, evicting the rightful owner from a nursery it spent hours constructing. A patch of dung on the ground, invisible and unremarkable to you, can represent a resource worth fighting over, defending and occasionally stealing outright. An entire quiet drama of labor, theft, and defense playing out beneath a cow pasture or a garden path that most people will never once notice. Chapter 3. 3 very different strategies for the same resource. Not every dung beetle behaves the same way, and researchers classify the roughly 6,000 known species into 3 broad functional categories, each solving the same basic problem of finding and using dung through an entirely different strategy. Rollers, the most familiar type and the one most people picture, form a ball at the dung source and roll it away in a straight line before burying it elsewhere. A strategy that trades speed and distance for a reduced risk of competition at the original site. Tunnelers take a different approach entirely, digging directly downward beneath or beside the dung pile itself and burying portions of it in place without ever rolling a ball across open ground, sacrificing mobility for the safety of never leaving the immediate area exposed to rivals. Dwellers, the third and least discussed category, simply live and breed directly inside the dung pile itself, foregoing burial altogether and instead relying on the sheer volume of the resource to provide enough time and food before it dries out or is consumed by competitors. Each of these 3 strategies represents a genuinely different evolutionary answer to the exact same question. And in a single cow pasture on a single morning, after a single fresh deposit, representatives of all 3 strategies may arrive within minutes of each other, competing, coexisting, and occasionally stealing from one another around the exact same resource. Chapter 4. Pound for pound. One of the strongest animals on the planet. Beyond navigation and underground engineering, dung beetles hold a distinction that surprises almost everyone who hears it for the first time: measured strength relative to body size. Researchers studying the horned dung beetle documented individuals capable of pulling a load more than 1,140 times their own body weight, a figure that, when scaled proportionally to a human being, would be roughly equivalent to a single person pulling 6 loaded double-decker buses at once. The strength is used almost entirely in male-to-male competition, where horned dung beetle males physically wedge themselves into narrow tunnels and push against rival males attempting to access a female inside. A contest of raw pushing force that researchers describe as functionally similar to a sumo match played out with horns instead of hands, decided entirely by which competitor can generate more force against the tunnel wall before the other is physically ejected. The horns themselves, present only in certain dominant males depending on nutrition received as a larva, can extend forward from the head at an almost absurd length relative to the beetle's small body. A single, weaponized adaptation grown specifically to win a contest of pure strength in the confined dark of an underground tunnel most people will never see. Chapter 5. the scale shift from your backyard to an entire continent's cattle industry. Everything described so far happens on the scale of a single dung pile, a single tunnel, a single pasture. But there is one more layer to this story, and it moves from individual insect behavior to a documented environmental crisis affecting an entire continent. When cattle were first introduced to Australia in significant numbers, the continent's existing native dung beetle species evolved specifically to process the drier, smaller waste of native marsupials, proved almost entirely unable to break down the large wet dung produced by cattle. Without an effective beetle population to bury and process it, cattle dung accumulated on pasture land at an enormous scale, smothering grass, providing ideal breeding grounds for pest flies that became a genuine agricultural and public health nuisance across the country, and removing usable grazing land from productivity faster than it could be replaced. Beginning in the 1960s, Australian researchers launched a deliberate, decades-long program to import dung beetle species from Africa and Europe, specifically selected because they had evolved alongside large grazing mammals and were mechanically and behaviorally suited to processing cattle dung efficiently. The imported beetles were released gradually and carefully across the country, and within years, measurable improvements followed: faster dung burial, healthier pasture regrowth, and a documented reduction in the fly populations that had been plaguing both cattle and the humans working among them. It remains one of the most successful and most cited examples in the history of applied entomology, an entire national agricultural problem solved not through chemicals or machinery, but by deliberately introducing an insect whose only job is to bury animal waste as efficiently as possible, using exactly the same rolling, tunneling, and dwelling strategies playing out in miniature in any backyard or pasture on the planet. The conclusion: what the small dark ball in the dirt was actually carrying. The next time you see a small beetle rolling a dark ball across a dirt path or a patch of exposed garden soil, you will not see it the same way again. What looks like an odd, faintly comic piece of insect behavior is, underneath the surface, a creature steering itself by the diffuse light of the entire galaxy, defending and occasionally stealing an underground resource economy, capable of generating strength that would be almost unbelievable at human scale, and functionally important enough to an ecosystem that its absence once measurably degraded an entire continent's agricultural land until it was deliberately restored. You have been walking past a navigator, an engineer, and a competitor your entire life. Small enough to miss and easy enough to dismiss. Now you know exactly what it was actually doing. Tell me in the comments, have you ever stopped to actually watch a dung beetle at work? Or is this the first time you've thought about what that small rolling ball was really carrying? I want to hear about it. I read everyone. I will see you in the next one.